Does it feel like you're being bombarded by endless online gurus, endless course creators, endless experts, endless advice, endless coaching? Finding the right mentor for you in a noisy online world can feel impossible because there's just so many options. You don't want to make the wrong investment, and there seems like so many people that could be good. So how do you choose? In this video, I'm going to share how to cut through the clutter and find the right mentor for your business, one who truly aligns with your values and goals. I'm someone who has invested well over $30,000 in courses and mentors, some great, some not so great, and I'm very excited to share those experiences with you so that you can hopefully avoid some of the mistakes that I made and make the right investment for you. Imagine having a mentor that really gets you, that helps you succeed with confidence, someone where when they give you advice, you can rest assured that if you take that advice, it's actually going to help you succeed. But first, let's just get this out of the way. Do you even need a coach? Like, can you just learn everything on your own online? I'm someone who consumes a ton of content. I consider myself self-taught in my trade, which is copywriting. So where does this actually all fit in? Like, why pay for something if you could learn it yourself? So yes, to an extent, you should be trying to learn as much as you possibly can on your own. However, self-learning and doing it with free content reaches a point of diminishing returns, and I'll explain what that means. So here's why you should be seeking advice from people who are doing what you're doing and who have achieved what you want to achieve. So number one, you need someone who is going to speak to you from a place of possibility and not limitation. That is not going to include your friends and family. I'm sorry to break it to you, but unless someone understands the ins and outs of the industry that you're trying to get in or the goal you're trying to reach, don't expect anyone to understand and give good advice. There's so many well-meaning people out there, but unless they're in the trenches with you, it could actually harm you to go and ask them advice, especially if they speak to you from a place of limitation and project their own fears and failures onto you. It could completely derail you. This has happened to me. So I'm just going to give you a prime example. About a year or two before I discovered what freelance copywriting really was and really dove in and went for it, I actually met a girl in an apartment building I was living in, and we met because we were outside walking our dogs, and I'll never forget, she had a full-time job in marketing for some software company in town, and she was doing freelance writing as a side gig to get some extra income on the side. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I want to write online for a living. That's something I want to do. And I was like so miserable at my sales job. I wanted to make that transition. And I'll never forget, she was like, oh no, don't bother. There's no money in it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, she must be right because she's actually a freelance writer and she's saying I shouldn't try it and that there's no money in it. But once I became a freelance copywriter and replaced my 9-to-5 income with my own copywriting income, it became clear that she was speaking from her own place of failure and inability to make a full-time income versus the reality of what I was capable of. And unfortunately, in life, people will try to dissuade you from doing certain things because they think they're being helpful, but what they're doing is speaking to you from a place of limitation versus possibility. The only time you can really get out of that is when you start working with a mentor or a coach who, number one, knows the possibility, right? Like, they've built something on their own, they know the industry, they know the steps to take to get there, but most importantly, they're going to speak to you from a place of possibility. They're going to encourage you. Yes, they're going to be realistic and share the downfalls, but a good coach or mentor is never going to put doubt in your mind that you can't do something. And most people just aren't trained to go about life like that. They're just operating at the standard level, which is like, hey, look out for that. Don't make that mistake. This could end badly. So if you're coming to people in your life for advice versus a mentor, you could get stuck. Okay, and here's the other really big reason. A good coach or mentor is going to take all of that free information that you consumed, all of that stuff that you've been storing in your mind, you've been learning, you've been studying. They're going to pull it out of you and help you take action on what you learned. So I'll just give you a prime example of this. So I'm working with my very first one-on-one business coach, Kim from the Business Lounge, and where I've done a lot of group coaching and online courses in the past, I'm finally at the point in my business where I'm hiring a one-on-one coach that's going through my business with a fine-tooth comb. And something she had me do was this exercise called Profit First, where I looked at my finances, meaning how much revenue I'm bringing in, how much my expenses are in my business, business, how much I'm paying for software, for virtual assistants, and actually breaking it down in the Profit First formula, which is a book that I had read before. Now, here's the thing. I have read and studied Profit First. I understood it to an extent, and then I went on with my life. I didn't implement it. So when she did this exercise with me and made me realize how much I have to be making per month to run a profitable business where I'm setting aside the proper percentages for taxes, operating expenses, my take-home income. By the way, everyone should read Profit First and make sure they're following that rule, but that's not the point of this. The point is that I knew it, I read it, I understood it to an extent, but I didn't do anything about it. But it's good because by the time I started working with Kim, years later, when she ran this exercise by me, I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. And then we were able to progress so much faster. So that's my point, is that there's always a place for your own self-learning and free content or low-cost content like books, but someone needs to actually pull it out of you and help you put it into action. And that's what a good coach or mentor will do. Okay, so now that you understand the importance of a mentor, what do you actually look for? Now, I'm going to skip the common sense generic advice, which is like review their testimonials, consume their content, and see how you feel. I hope that you're following your gut to the point where you can kind of gauge whether somebody is trustworthy and whether you're going to get completely scammed. Like, I'm not talking about that. I feel like that's a whole other topic on whether you pay for something and it turns out to be really low quality or something like that. But what I want to actually focus on is the characteristics and the signs to look for to assure that this coach is going to be a good fit for you. And the thing with the online coaching world and business world is that what works really well, an approach that's good for one person, is not going to resonate with someone else. I think we all have a style and a personality in people that we prefer to learn from versus another. And that's really what's so awesome about the online business space, the coaching space, is that there's someone for everyone. Now, before you start evaluating anyone else, you have to get clear on your goals and your values. Know yourself first, and then you'll be able to pick someone who is a good fit for you. So what are you looking to achieve and what are non-negotiables for you? So I'll just give you a prime example. I have heard certain business coaches talking about how they took out business loans to run their coaching business. To me personally, that's a red flag. I do not believe in debt, nor do I believe in starting any type of online business which has very low overhead. I don't believe in taking out a loan for that. But my point being is that why would I take advice from someone who followed a business model that I know I'm not going to replicate myself? Same with if I was looking for a way to grow organic traffic to my website. If I know that there is a mentor or a course creator who's advising that you need to build a social media following on Instagram, I'm not going to go for that because I know I don't want to go that route. After I freed myself from my student debt and felt the financial freedom of being able to leave my job and pivot to freelancing because I knew I wasn't in debt and didn't have monthly payments, I'm never going back there. Incurring debt is a no-go for me, okay? So knowing that her business model was able to scale to a certain size and revenue, but that she borrowed money to get there, automatically means that I cannot replicate that strategy. Now, I mentioned you have to set your own goal and know what you want to achieve. This is really important. I think there's a lot of programs out there that don't get you to a specific goal, especially if you're going into some type of money mindset training or some airy-fairy promise that's kind of nebulous. And I have to say, one of the first coaching programs, which had nothing to do with business, it was an airy-fairy course. And I do feel like it helped me in some ways, but I don't think there was a tangible outcome. And if you're investing a lot of money into something and it just makes you feel good or gives you a little boost, that might not be a smart business decision. Do it because you want to and you're going to enjoy it. But if there's no tangible business outcome, just know what you're investing in. So even when it comes to something like therapy, I really hold this mindset. I don't want to endlessly talk to a therapist about my past traumas and complain and vent. I want to reach a goal. So that's something I always talk about when I start with a new therapist is here's the behavior or the emotion or the habit that I'm looking to break free from by the end of this. And if I'm able to improve in this area, I will know I got something out of this. And then, you wind up in a more action-oriented form of therapy like CBT versus just straight talk therapy that might not get you anywhere. So it's always good good to just go in with a tangible goal to see, like, did I get the end result that I meant to get from this relationship? So what are you not willing to do? You need to know what steps someone took to get to their end goal to decide whether or not you can go and replicate their strategy. This is the thing. So we have these goals. We'll say, like, okay, I want to make 90 to 100,000. There's so many ways you can make 90 to $100,000 a year. But if you know you don't want to work in an office, the way that the goal is achieved is just as important as the goal itself. Because to me, if it meant making 90 to $100,000 a year but working in office, I would actually rather set my goal lower, which I've actually done that. I took a $50,000 pay cut just for the sake of transitioning to freelancing because I knew I would eventually build up, but I also knew I was willing to live on less in that time period of building up just for the sake of getting out of my 9-to-5 job. The other thing you really want to think about is, do you want their life? Now, we talked about, okay, are you okay with the process that it took them to get to that goal? You have to make that decision, but also look at their life because that's part of the process too. So for example, there is a course creator that I respect and admire and I really love this course creator. I've bought her courses, but the reason why I wouldn't enter into like a one-to-one coaching relationship and invest more and more with that specific person is because even though I think it's so amazing what she has accomplished and how big her business is and how prolific she is, I know that I also don't want my life to look like hers. So for example, she runs a team. I have no interest in running a team. I have this vision for my business where it is lean, it is profitable, and I'm willing to sacrifice growth and big numbers for the sake of my peace of mind and just focusing more on my lifestyle and what my day-to-day looks like. If I know that having a team that's going to require all this oversight and being on Zoom calls all day, that's just not my vision. And even personally, so this person I'm talking about is the breadwinner of her family. And please don't get offended by this, ladies, if you are the breadwinner in your family, but putting my husband out of his job and having him stay home is not what I want for my life. Because my personal opinion and my deeply held value is that men need to go out into the workforce and make themselves useful. Even if it's not making a ton of money, they should be out there working. Therefore, I'm better suited working for a coach who maybe takes a more traditional role in her own marriage and exemplifies those roles. So I think we need to really look at people's lives and values and see if we align with them. So speaking of a coach and a mentor that helps you take action, in my next video, I want to talk about why getting out of your head, stopping the continuous cycle of learning and not doing is sabotaging your results, and how to become an action taker instead of an overthinker. Don't miss this next video. Trust me, it is going to change the way you go about this whole online business thing.